From the Tapped Out Wrestling Network studio, we bring you the original Tapped Out Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Nick McDaniel and Myron Vanjur. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition, the interview edition of the Tapped Out Wrestling podcast. Today we are joined by Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion, Mario Vanjur. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, fantastic. How are you guys?
Oh, doing wonderful today.
We had Mercury Matthew Yaden on last week, and you were you were on the top of his get list for us to get on. He said you got to have the champ on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. Thank you.
Good to hear from you. It's always good to have a champion in the house.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, well, it's good to be the champ, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but hard work pays off. So it's always worth it.
Oh yeah, it looks like you've been doing a lot of hard work in the gym, man. The whole sugar-free thing is working out for you.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I've been working out since I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into bodybuilding just because I was a wrestling fan. So I saw Goldberg, I think, on WCW, and then I realized, to be a pro wrestler, you got to have a physique. So I said, okay, I'll start working out. So I started working out with my brother in the house. I didn't have any weights or anything, so I had like a set of dumbbells, and then I took a broomstick and just taped toolboxes at the end of the on the broomstick. So I was doing curls and squats with it. Made the best out of it. Yeah, and then I eventually joined the gym and got into bodybuilding and stuff like that. And then I started wrestling afterwards.
So where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Vienna, Austria.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And when did you come to this country?
I came here I came to visit once in 2006 to California to help one of my first mentors with the bodybuilding competition. Uh-huh. But I moved here in 2007 to Miami.
Cool.
So what caused you to make that move? What was it? Was it wrestling? Was it bodybuilding? Or? And
it was all together. It's similar to Arnold Schwarzenegger because since I was a kid, like maybe 10 years old or 12, I always felt like I was out of place. I felt like there's something more to Austria, So at the same time, I was in love with all the American movies, the cars and the buildings and the lifestyle and everything. So I was always dreaming coming to America. So then I realized, I really want to be here. And then back in Vienna, when I was working in the gym, I met a couple of people here from the U.S. So, and I was so happy because they were just like me, like positive, happy, always like smiling and everything. Because for some reason, in general, I'm not saying everybody, but it was people in Europe. As soon as you did something different, especially in Austria, they looked at you like you were alien. So, especially with the bodybuilding and stuff, and everybody was kind of almost like in a negative mindset and always negative about the U.S. So even back then I was defending the U.S. and trying to tell people, no, that's not true and stuff. So, and then eventually I had the chance and I just tried my best to make it here. And so in 2007, that's when I actually was able to move here.
Cool. So when you moved so you said you moved to Miami?
Yeah, because a longtime friend of mine, Archie, he played in the NFL Europe and he played rugby. So he had an agent in Miami. So we said, okay, we'll stick together and we'll go to Miami. At least we have an agent there. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
And you eventually worked your way out to Colorado to start wrestling. Is this your first promotion?
No, not really. I actually took my first bumps in Austria.
Oh.
And then I actually with the Kovacs brothers. It was Michael Kovacs and Tom Kovacs. Michael Kovacs, he was back in the 90s. He was in ECW.
Mm-hmm.
It was old school. They beat me up and everything. It was a good start off. But just maybe 2-3 weeks of training, and then I immigrated to the U.S. and then I started training there in Florida. But then we started working in a nightclub and everything, and I just completely stopped. So I never really continued wrestling until right before I moved to Colorado.
Okay.
Who'd you train with down in Florida?
It was with gosh, I'm trying to remember. It's called now the Main Event Training Center. It was with Coastal Championship, CCW.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
training. Yeah, Dan Evans, Bruno Sassi, Pablo Marquez, those guys. Yeah.
Okay.
And so what drug you out to Colorado?
It was my family moved here, like my brother, he got wife and kids. So, and I was missing the seasons, and I really needed some seasons, and Colorado was pretty nice. So my family lived there, but I was still not sure what to do because, with the wrestling, I was getting back into the wrestling, and then I saw the Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy, and I said, "Gosh, okay, that looks pretty nice." So now I have a good reason to move to Colorado.
Cool.
And yeah, since then, like the Rocky Mountain Pro really took off, and things were going in a good direction. So
I tell you, I have not watched any of this stuff on YouTube yet. I've been watching this from the Fight app, and what I've seen has been really, really good, really entertaining program. I've seen you do a lot of different kind of matches. You've been bunkhouse brawls. You've been empty arena matches. You had that fight in the back there, in I guess the old animal section.
Oh yeah, in the barn, with Royce Isaacs, that was,
And you also you do a good job. That bit was a bit on the, I could tell it was a little bit on the funny side, and you do a good job coming back and forth between that, working different type matches, and that was very appealing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm trying to be entertaining and funny, but at the same time also always kind of thinking outside the box and doing different things,
Improvising type stuff.
Yeah, like that brawl in the barn. That was fun, and everybody pulled together from Vince Russo to the Hoodlum and all the people involved in there.
And not in a negative way, but actually that was one of the comments that I made that I said, because, obviously we discussed it with Matthew last week, as I said, that's a Russo idea. That's what it seemed like a Russo idea.
Yeah, it is, yeah. The Russo, you can see, I was just watching WCW in the 2000s when Russo was there, and, watching now Rocky Mountain Pro, I feel like, I know it can be compared, but I think the story, it's more intriguing, it's more realistic and more than back in 2000 on Nitro. Even the budget, we don't really have a big budget to have play with money and have a lot of things we can make it look nicer. But story wise, I think it's pretty good comparing to back in Vince Russo in 2000 with WCW.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see the shades of Vince Russo.
Yeah. You've mentioned WCW now a couple times with Goldberg and the Russo. Was that kind of your introduction to wrestling, or was it before that? What made you get interested in wrestling?
I mean, when it was, I think it was in 93, 94, 95, we didn't have cable TV. It was kind of a seldom thing to have. You only had in Austria Channel 1 and Channel 2, so there was no wrestling on it. But there were a couple of kids in school that had the figures, the action figures from Yokozuna, Macho Man, Lex Luger, Hulk Hogan, Mm-hmm. So that's where I got into seeing all the characters in magazines back in the old WWF. And then And then around 97 or 98, I started watching WCW because I finally got cable network, and that was the only wrestling promotion they had on it. And I remember seeing like Goldberg and Sting and all those guys, and then I really, and Goldberg especially made me kind of like motivated me to work out and everything, so to get into wrestling. So I like WCW. I was watching it, but then also finally I got a hold of WWF, and then I fell in love with that too. So.
Oh yeah, those were great days to watch wrestling.
Oh yeah, late 90s. Yeah, definitely.
And Russo, I can tell that he is. You said you have a limited budget, but what y'all are doing storyline wise and production wise, the camera angles and everything looks a lot better than some of the other indie promotions I've watched. It's more polished. You can tell there's more of a better influence there. There's expertise.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like everybody as a team, everybody's like really pulling together, and Vince Russo really like helped us with putting the knowledge on editing, and Kelly Dowdy, he's editing the videos and everything, and it was also Christopher Long, that's Matthew's good friend. He was I think in TNA editing. Yeah. So it's definitely like editing wise and production wise, like it's definitely like above the regular indie level.
Definitely.
Well, it's got you got some expertise for some. He's had obviously Russo had the big budgets, so he could work with it, but he could still take and kind of tweak even on a smaller budget and make it. It's a polished around the edges, which is he's done a very. And I made sure to point out to Matt that Matthew that it was a very very good job of how even selecting of the quarry as the background. I think they did a great job of it. It comes off. It looks much more polished than the budget that's probably involved.
Correct. Yeah. That's Like we were really happy with everything. Vince Russo coming in and the quarry and everybody. Like it's the product. The season one. Yeah, watching season one, it really looks pretty good. Like knowing the budget, comparing to with the low budget. Like it's like Vince Russo really. Everybody like made the best out of it.
Were you surprised? Let me be honest with you. Were you surprised when you wrestled in there during the tapings? Was the final product even better than you thought originally? That it was much better.
Oh yeah. I remember because after we did the tapings, and then maybe a few weeks into the season, we were at the Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy, which is at the quarry. Like they put it on the big screen, the episode 2, not the introduction, but episode 1, actually the one in the quarry. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it blew my mind. It was there was a phenomenal job production wise. Yeah, like I didn't expect it to look that way.
Yeah, you brought up the training facility now a couple times. Tell us a little bit about it. I mean, obviously, last week Matt did, but tell it from the other side. Matt's over there, from one perspective. What's your perspective of the advantages of having the Mercury Wrestling Academy right there, with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the advantages are you have a couple of coaches, and especially Matt, like when I started, you had to do a tryout, so you have to be some kind of athletic. And after that, I did a tryout. He saw I got some previous experience, so I right away started there training and everything. And it's really like it's a training facility, which it's people that train there. Like it's not a hobby. Everybody is determined. Everybody is putting in the work, and you have great coaches, like even the Left Coast Gorillas. Mm-hmm. Like they travel around and they come back to the school from Ring of Honor and everything, and they bring that knowledge back, and like that's why it's a great training facility where you really can even every time I train, I go home as a better wrestler. Like I always learn something new, and and you have a great group of people too, and it's a lot of students, and you have the shirt system where you start as a white shirt and then progress as you get more experienced. Mm-hmm. So and especially training on in high altitude, it's beneficial once you go somewhere else and wrestle, conditioning wise.
Oh, I can imagine. Now I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because you always hear about Mile High Stadium, playing there, with the Broncos, how you get winded so much, but they have the advantage of cardio wise. So you're right. I guess I'd never put two and two together until you just said that. I've heard it before in football, but it never made any, before.
Yeah, I mean, I came from sea level, so I was so used to the sea level because I spent like 6 years on sea level, and gosh, that was the toughest thing to get adjusted. and a lot of MMA fighters train here just because of the altitude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is beneficial. And Colorado is beautiful. Like it's a beautiful state,
Oh yeah.
You have the mountains, more sunshine than Florida. I feel like every day it's always sunny. No clouds, not much rain.
Some of our friends took a vacation out there a couple of years ago and camped and traveled all around the state. And the pictures they sent us and posted on their Facebooks were so beautiful. It was just shocking.
Yeah.
How nice and clean and clear everything looked.
Correct. Yeah, it is a beautiful state. So, and then if you train there, it's I really enjoy it. And I always train. There are plenty of classes at the Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy. So. Morning classes, afternoon classes, and it's
one of the things.
It's definitely I train in Florida, but with the Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy when I started training, and I definitely improved it would if I would train anywhere else, it would take me 5 years. What would take me there a year maybe.
Well, you've got all your facilities, and you've got your ring right next door, and you've got people with you all the time. It sounds like the ideal incubator for wrestling talent.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. That's why we have sometimes students just moving to Colorado, out of state. They just want to train there and be in Colorado. So it's always good to see that.
And Matt was saying how great of a family environment is. Kind of what you said earlier, that that the guys come back and they train. He told me stories of of Curtis Cole training the kids class. That kind of, where everybody's giving back and helping each other, watching others' footage and kind of helping. And he's like, even because he was addressing obviously you and Curtis Cole at the time.
Yeah.
Was even the champions walk back through and encourage feedback from everybody of what could I do better, what could that whole working environment. So and obviously that's kind of what you said.
Yeah, it's it is a family. Everybody's it is. It's yes. Even Curtis Cole, for the kids class, I never seen anyone take so many bumps. For the kids, he beats himself up every time, which is amazing to see. It just shows you the love for everybody training there and everything.
And for the business as a whole. I mean, his passion for wrestling, obviously.
Correct.
Well, that's fascinating that everybody is in like that, because you hear so many stories about backstage trouble in the WWE and the WWF and guys causing problems and there being bad blood between each other.
Yeah.
That's a unique situation.
Yeah, you don't have that there. That's a good thing. You don't have any you don't have any separate groups. Everybody's as a whole group always there and interacting with each other. There's no bad vibes or anything. Everybody's really positive.
Even when y'all bring in people from outside promotions like Marty Bell, did she work in well with everyone or?
Oh yeah, she was phenomenal. That was a privilege. I mean, it was an honor to have her there. She was really good. Just watching all her segments and everything. She's awesome. I'm a big fan of her. I really like her. She has that positive attitude and everything.
That's good to hear.
So,
well, as Matt,
and it's a healthy environment basically. You don't stress out about any politics there or anything like that.
Yeah, I think Matt was bringing it up the other day when we were talking. He basically said, if you are a problem, you're not there long.
Yeah, correct.
That's awesome.
Correct. Yeah, he keeps the problems away. He stays. Yeah, that's a good thing. It's
cool.
It's almost like you can call it a filter.
Now, when I was doing the research for the show, I noticed you had an IMDb page for the program you did with Russo, the business of the business. What was it like doing that?
You're talking about
the movie,
the podcast?
No, they did some kind of behind the scenes special. I guess I haven't seen it all.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I remember the business of the business. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, completely forgot about it. Yeah,
Well,
they were
cool.
like, they were doing like the behind the scenes, and I don't know how many episodes came out so far, but yeah, that's pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys seen it or watched a couple of episodes.
I'm gonna have to look into that. I just found it yesterday when I was getting ready.
Yeah, and Vince, like what I liked about like he was taking his time to get to know the characters, so he can it's so he can write for somebody. Like it's hard to write for somebody you don't really know, So if it gets too, so it's more on a personal level. So yeah. And that's what you see on the business of the business, like this, how segments are set up and how to work a segment and all kinds of things.
Yeah. Not to tangent, but I'll ask you this question because it's something that I have a real big issue with when it comes from. I don't know if you watch NXT, product or WWE's product as well, but one of the biggest complaints I have is when some of the talents are promoted from NXT to WWE. It's like they jump from. You can tell clearly that when those characters were developed in house at NXT. It's a homegrown, and they know that character. That character jumps to WWE, and I feel like the writers you see the disconnect where all of a sudden they're writing for somebody that they didn't have anything to do with building that character.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's it's a tough thing to do. Like it's when you're big like that, and it's hard to like. There's so many different talents and characters. Like I can see that. It's probably NXT. It's easier because it's more on a smaller base, so they get to know the characters better and really work them well. So I can see that being kind of a tougher thing to do.
Yeah. Well, my best example of it is in NXT, Bayley, whose character was written so well, and I just feel like since she's made her debut on the Raw roster, she struggled because it's like the writers don't get it. And I think that's the advantage. And the reason I kind of went there was because of what you said that Vince does is he's taking the time to learn the character before he starts writing for the character. So he gets it. So, and I think that's a huge advantage for you.
So it's also like to ask you, like, then you like, are you more intrigued with the NXT characters and the storylines there then?
Well, it depends. And I think what I meant by that is, like I said, there's just certain characters that I almost make the joke of, you can tell that character was born in an NXT meeting, and somebody knew that character. So for writing for that character was personal. They understood it. Then that character moves on to WWE, and you've got a table full of writers who are like, so her character's supposed to be this now? Is that what we're saying? And so they write their vision for the character, and the two don't match. So.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to write for TV. There's not even that much time, so I can see that being like kind of almost a problem. Because I would think like at NXT, like you have people actually like really getting more to know the person and sitting down with them and being with them at the performance center and everything, and 24/7. So I can see that.
Because you could tell with your feud with Rolls-Royce Isaacs that there was some really good character development style writing done there, where they picked up on the things between the two of y'all that would cause stress, and the whole him bringing the sugar into the match in his fanny pack and things like that. That's why like as a talent you can't just rely on the writers. You got to come up with your own creative ideas, and like you got to spend time, like you really got to invest time thinking about kind of outside the box, and always thinking how can you draw more entertainment and stuff. So it's not just the wrestling. That's why like you can't always just rely on the writers. They're gonna write for you, and you just that's why the good thing also with Vince Russo, like he also let us like
he gave us a direction. Then we kind of worked from there on how to,
That actually what led my next question. I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
So do you guys get a lot? Does he kind of give you an outline, like a skeletal of what he wants, and then goes like, okay, now figure it out, and put the meat on the bone.
Correct. Yeah, that's what he does. And it's not like he tells you word for word what to say, unless you ask him like, how can I say this and this, So he just it's like how you say things, and do things when the camera is on. So
now I'll ask you. I'm sorry, real quick. I do want to ask this because this is actually again one of our biggest. I hate to critique certain things, but one of the advantages of back in the era that we were just talking about that we love so much, it was because that's how even the big shows were written. It was they were given an outline and kind of go with it. Do you think that that's potentially, because things that I've heard when I was talking to Matt were things like how short of a term, and you mentioned it earlier, how fast people develop at the Mercury Academy. He's like, this person's been there less than 2 years. This person's been here less than a year. Yeah. Do you think it's because you kind of have that advantage that, that they let you kind of, build your own character, that you develop faster because you're not specifically told, this is your promo, this is what we want you to do. You develop at a faster pace.
Probably, yeah. I would say like the hardest part is to find the right character for you, a character which you can really believe in and being you as the character, So that's the toughest part. But I think you mentioned like back in the Attitude Era and how wrestling was. It was more like it wasn't like nobody was writing like word by word.
Yeah, it wasn't scripted.
Like for The Rock and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But it was like it was also beyond wrestling. It was a different time because today we live in a strange time where people. You got to be so careful what to put on TV because people get so offended and insulted so easy that you basically there's no way you can do what wrestling was like 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
And then people get upset that they get mad at the heels, and it's like the whole reason they're heels is to make you mad at them so they can draw heat and make the program more interesting.
Yeah, and then they're gonna file lawsuits, isn't that like make a big social media
Well, watching you, it's like I think you're a heel for a little while, and then I see the crowd just react so well to you that it's probably hard to be a heel with your character.
Correct. Yeah, like I was a heel, and before season 1 started, and then once I started my segment with Royce Isaacs. I don't know if you've seen. I think it's on the first intro episode where he attacked me with a bag of sugar.
Yeah.
And then I shoved the raw fish down his throat. So that's why I kind of got the fans on my side, and that's I think where it was like kind of a slow face turn where people like they hated me, and I remember back then like they were throwing. Like so many times, the ring would just end up with a bunch of candy bars being in there. Like it was sometimes it was hailing candy bars, and people like they just invested everything they could, all the energy and candy bars, just to throw it in the ring. So that was fun seeing them, and then I guess afterwards they caught on the message that it's actually makes sense and everything, and it's and then with entertainment value and everything, starting when I started with Royce, so that's where they got behind me.
So you pretty much live your sugar-free gimmick. I mean,
it's not a gimmick,
very
right?
healthy.
It's not really a character because I mean I was always a sweet tooth. So when I was a kid, like when I was a teenager, as soon as me and my brother had a couple $, I mean euros or whatever the currency was, we just bought candy, and just within 10 minutes we just ate the whole candy, from like the whole pie or just ice cream, tubs of ice cream. But and then I always had a hard time like going into a bodybuilding diet and then breaking the diet by tasting sugar, and then I couldn't control myself. But I think in 2011 or 12, I was in the gym with my gym partner at the time, and that's where I realized on my own that, just like talking to him, that I said like sugar is a drug because it's so addictive. It's so hard to like kick the sugar, you know, all the sweets. And that's where I had my first unofficial sugar-free T-shirt, because at the time at that gym, Dwayne Johnson was working out there too, and so I got the idea from him, and I made a T-shirt. It said it was a tank top, and it said in the front it said "pie, good for the soul," and on the back of the T-shirt it said "but bad for the body." And he always looked at me. We talked a little bit, and yeah, that's when I realized it. And after that, then when I got into reading books and doing more research, and then I found Dr. Robert Lustig. He was pretty big on that too. He came out with a big speech in 2008 about the bitter truth about sugar. So, and then I realized, there are more people like coming up with studies and showing proof that processed sugar is actually the worst thing you can do to your health. So
yeah. Oh, is that how you came up with the name for your finisher?
Oh, the insulin spike.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know when I came up with it. I always liked the Razor's Edge, and I always liked Scott Hall and everything, and so I tried to figure out a name, and insulin spike made sense because I usually I kind of spike my opponent.
Yeah. But
the problem is with the sugar, you don't want to have a big insulin spike, because especially in the morning or throughout the day, because it's really bad for you. So that's how I came up with the finisher's name.
Well, you brought up that you like Scott Hall. One of the things in our conversations prior to this episode, we were kind of looking at watching your character and watching you, and we were wondering. We're like, well, I wonder, because we're going to ask the question. We saw a little bit of Rick Rude, Scott Hall, and Kurt Hennig in you, and so who do you look back and kind of model yourself? I mean, and I know you want to be your own, but there's obviously somebody that you watch that you're like, that's kind of the guy I want to be like.
Yeah, it's like it's like bodybuilding. You sculpt a sculpture, like your body. So you always as more you progress, it's always more defined of what do you do in the ring too. I know, striking wise, let's say my strikes, which I learned. I got my striking from Matt Yaden. He's a phenomenal striker, and then I really learned how to strike good from him. And then for striking wise, I kind of took it from Scott Hall, the open hand strikes. But there's so many guys I kind of Ric Flair is one of them, especially Ric Flair. He's the whole demeanor, everything he does, Ric Flair, from The Rock, some Scott Hall, and all those guys. It's you always take something and then kind of try to make it into your own thing, So.
Oh, absolutely.
I watched some of your matches. Your striking is great. And some of those shots you were passing back and forth with Humphrey Jacobs were very impressive.
Thank you.
Very well done.
I'm trying to remember what. Yeah, I think I had 2 matches with him.
Yeah, the first match where you actually won the title was a great match.
Yeah, it wasn't a long match, but it was. Sometimes you don't need to have those 20-25 minute matches,
Yeah.
To tell a story too, and I think that. I remember I had fun. It was a great feeling winning the title.
Yeah.
And then doing that interview after, I had no idea what I was saying, but it was in the moment.
Because when you go out there, and we're not ripping the curtain here, but when you go out there and you're about to go over and you're about to win, but you always hear the guys still say, when you still win the title, it means something. It's an accomplishment.
there's nothing you can compare it to. It's like you get awarded for you're the face of the company. Like all the pressure is on you. Like all the work you put in. You know, like it's like stepping up a ladder. And once you step up where you become champion, it is a great feeling. And there's everybody who gets into wrestling, who starts training, that person has to be dreaming about being the champion one day, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I did another interview a while back, and one of the things that came up in the interview, and I say this every time to somebody, you have to have a little bit of an ego to get in this business.
Correct, yeah. You have got to have an ego, a little bit of an ego, in a good way, you know, like, I don't know how to put it. Like, they talked about Michael Jordan. Like, he was like kind of like, to the outside, he was a little bit cocky and he was really like confident in himself. But on the other side, he had a lot of humility. Like when he went back to the locker room, the worst player on the team could suggest something and he would sit down and listen to him, you know? So you got to have like inward humility, but also like you got to be a little bit like cocky and like have an ego, maybe a little bit selfish, you know?
Well, the way I worded it is I said, you have to believe you could main event WrestleMania. You could main event the Tokyo Dome, you know, because that should be your eventual goal.
Correct.
I mean, you know, now, does everybody make it? Obviously they do not, but in your heart, you have to believe that you could.
You have to. Otherwise, who else nobody gonna get behind you and believe in you if you can't even believe in yourself, you know, being in a moment.
I keep trying to convince my kids of that.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing, you know, I'm your father and I can be your number one fan, but if you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't really matter. You know,
Correct.
You have to be that person.
Yeah, and you have to visualize it too. Like you have to believe in yourself and visualize it before it happens. Mm-hmm. And there's great books about it. Like I read so many books, and yeah.
Well, Well, that leads me to my next question. I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
What, you know, and we go out of order here because we like to just conversate here. But what are your long-term goals? I always ask, what's your dream spot? Like where would you like to be?
When it's definitely I can't like the goals I have, and basically it's like the most important thing, being healthy, and I want to be as successful I can be to have enough followers and fans where I can really kind of make an impact on a big scale, whether with I don't know, being in a big wrestling company or being like in being in a public figure. And that's my goal, like being healthy and really having a goal where I can like but before I leave the world, make it a better world, like especially with the processed sugar and nutrition and stuff. And that's what I try. That's what my goal is, to make it through wrestling. And I mean, The Rock, you know, like he was like his career. He didn't have a long career in pro wrestling, but he used it as a platform to really become a world-known star and actor and everything, and he really motivates people and he does so many good things, you know. So that's what I want to do, like give back and really help people and reach out through. And now with social media and everything, like that's, you know, when people say I want to, like wealth is so important. I think when people say money is not important or money is important, like my take is on money is important. It's not the most important thing, but it's really important. It's not what you can buy with it, but it's what you can do with it, you know?
Right.
And if you have money, you can really help out other people and have more power where you can really, you know,
That's one of the most noble things I've ever heard.
From wrestling. From the wrestlers.
No one has ever came across with anything like that before. That's pretty impressive, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you want to take your, you know, you can reach some status with your, you know, the position that you're in, and then use that status to get, you know, to influence others who look up to you, or, you know, that kind of thing. Absolutely.
Now, do you follow
especially with the new generations of children, like school food. It's like nobody, even here in Colorado, like there's so much revenue and money here, but still I feel like nobody really pays attention to nutrition, and the kids, they just eat a lot of processed food in the schools and sugar, and and it catches up to them later on. So we should help the ones that don't have any options, and really give them an option to have the right to have a healthy life and be happy and everything.
Now, do you follow a pretty specific meal plan, or do you work it out in advance? How do you go about that?
I mean, over the years, one thing I learned, the most important thing is just always try to eat real food, like nothing from the freezer, just cook from scratch. And a lot of years, like, always did the small meals, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day,
Mm-hmm.
But I always experiment with different things, and now I'm been experimenting with the ketogenic diet and like carb backloading, and as whatever you do, as long as you educate yourself and basically cut out processed food and all the sugars, you're doing something good.
Yeah, I've noticed that, definitely.
Like even in Ryback's book, which I recently read too, like it's like I eat a lot of good fats, like from avocados and grass-fed butter and coconut oil and stuff. So basically, if I eat protein and fats, I don't have carbs. If I eat carbs, then I don't have any fats. So you can't mix. Those are the two things I kind of try to stay on, where I don't mix carbs and fats. And then I just basically experiment with now the ketogenic diet.
Yeah, my girlfriend has been on a health kick, and she's been making me smoothies every day for breakfast. And I've noticed that when I have a smoothie, I don't even know what all is in it. It's got some green stuff. She doesn't tell me, because I have a long history of horrible eating habits. But I feel so much better the less stuff I take in. And if I'm eating a smoothie and then a nice sandwich and a reasonable dinner, I feel a lot. If I'm eating smarter foods, we're eating a lot of avocados lately, I feel better every day, even though I'm not getting that massive amount of protein I've thought I've needed for so many years.
Yeah. And it goes back, like everything you put in your body has an effect on you, in a good way or bad way. Mm-hmm. That's why, and like today's food, like all the processed food and everything, like they have scientists to make it really taste good, where they manipulate your taste buds, and like the food today tastes so good that, like, it's not even our responsibility anymore. It's what the government always tries to say, or the food industry, or it's personal responsibility. But if there's no knowledge or access to real food, then it's not your responsibility anymore.
Yeah.
And the lack of education too with food and nutrition. Because just not to get sidetracked, but the whole Western diet, what do you know about eating less fat and carbs and having a big breakfast and a lot of grains and stuff. It's based basically on a even Joe Rogan says that too. It's been based on a wrong, manipulated study. The sugar industry paid off the news media and the scientists to blame all the diseases on fat, and that's when we started going off track, when we tried to cut out the fat, and then there was more sugar in the foods and less fat, and then people started to get obese and get heart diseases and diabetes, and that's based on the Western diet, and it's still haunting us today. Even it was a complete wrong, manipulated study and diet. So
it makes sense to me. I mean, I'm a pharmacist. I've been doing this for years, almost 20 years, and the amount of diabetes in the last 10 years compared to what it was prior to that is just shocking.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
I know, it is a lot of money. It's all about the money too and stuff,
Oh yeah, definitely.
But like, it's just like the worst thing I want to see is a 10-year-old child having diabetes and suffering through life because nobody really gave him a choice to eat healthy or give him good food, Like that's, I believe you can do whatever drug you want to do as long as you don't affect other people. So if you want to eat, I don't know, 10 pies a day, that's fine to me as long as you don't affect anybody else. But like for kids, I think they should have a choice, because if you hook them right away on sugar, they don't really have a choice,
Well, makes sense.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
And that's what the food industry does, That's why they spike everything with sugar. So, kids go back to the store and they can't wait to buy more candy.
With the cartoon characters pushing the cereal, etc. That kind of,
Yeah.
So everybody gets hooked right in. It's a constant battle. Yeah. It's a constant battle. I agree.
I know. And I don't believe in extreme ideologies. Like everybody who works in the food industry or anywhere else, like they're good people. Like they just do their job. They believe in doing the right thing. But it's just the whole system and everything. Like that's why I don't say like, oh, those are evil people and everything. Like you can't just judge people upon that. They're doing their job and stuff. But that's why you have entrepreneurs that are trying to, make a difference and make a better world. So it's a whole circle of things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I absolutely agree. We actually will probably have to have you back on for a whole show of just this, this topic. And actually, the funny part is I'll have my daughter on, because he'll tell you she did not fall. She fell really far from this tree. She's a workout junkie. She's a diet. She has her dad like a Sunday night. I'm cooking sweet potatoes, asparagus, and chicken,
nice.
Yeah, she'll put some seasonings on it, but no, there's no salt, there's no there's no sugars, obviously. It's just, and it's always, I need fresh sweet potatoes from, from the produce section, that kind of stuff. And so she's, she actually, believe it or not, I joked about it. My daughter works at a gym, for crying out loud. It was like, and so it's kind of crazy, but hey, she saw her dad drop 50 pounds once, and she said her dad needs to do it again, Yeah. And so you're talking to a guy who just recently gave up Coke again. I gave up Cokes again, and Jesus, the headaches are killing me.
Like that's another thing. Like even the diet sodas. I mean, that's awesome that your daughter is doing that. Like that's always a good thing, because it always motivates everybody when you have people like that. They're really into health and trying to make a difference. And it's such much. I mean, now you have so much more access to healthier food, anyways. Like eating out and stuff. Yeah. So it's definitely easier than 10, 20 years ago. And people kind of are more educated now, and they especially the internet. Like you could research anything. Yeah. So
now, and she was telling me she came, and I don't know what your thoughts on this. Now you can find these food plans, these places that deliver the food. It's all fresh. It's all,
like food made from scratch, like the deliver you meals every day. Yeah. A lot of athletes use it, and it's really worth it. You don't need to cook, and you set meals, and it's a good thing. Yeah. It's pretty big now. Yeah, I seen it. I was going to try it too. I'm just trying to go.
I will actually get in touch with you and let you know. She actually, believe it or not, one of the reps came in their gym and was, telling them about it. And she said, "Dad, I think I'm going to try it. It'll keep me from having to cook, because I'm in there with her cooking, getting all of her stuff ready, because she does her like the whole week's worth of food, kind of thing. And she's a big meal prep girl. Yeah, absolutely.
And meal prep, it's so important, because it really gives you the chance to eat healthy. If you don't prepare your meals, and you know the feeling when you get hungry and you like, gosh, I'm not gonna cook now for an hour and wait. I'm just gonna grab some food, And that's where you kind of almost like, that's where you usually get off track. Because
it's always that we don't have time. That's always we don't have time.
Yeah, so those meal preps, those cooked foods, which they're fresh, like they're made from scratch. So I'm really glad. I tried a couple of times in Florida, a couple of companies. So but I haven't checked it out here in Colorado. So, but I'm gonna probably look into it again. And just one thing about the soda. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, go ahead. No, you're good.
Like you said, you were getting off the Cokes, the sodas, and it's so hard with the sodas, because it's so addictive, and not even the diet ones. Like like I said, okay, I'm not gonna eat. I don't need sugar, but I can have a diet soda. But even the diet sodas are so addictive, and especially like the the sugar substitutes are really bad too, and there are two of them: the sucralose and the aspartame.
Yeah,
like they're so bad for you that they cause so much inflammation in your body that you have a lot of issues with like blood pressure and all kinds of health issues. So even diet sodas are bad, and they're really, you really get hooked on it. And I try to, sometimes I crave a diet soda when I used to drink diet soda, and like I drink a diet soda, 2 hours later I can't wait to have another one, So and I got completely off any sodas because it's really bad, regardless if it's sugar with sugar or sugar free. And I just found, like, if I want something sweet, I have a bulletproof coffee, or like you can make your own lemonade out of fresh lemons and stevia. Stevia is actually the healthiest sugar substitute.
Gotcha. Yeah, because and it's weird. It's because I think my daughter took it from me when I was doing my last big diet that I had to go through. It wasn't a diet. I mean, I worked out, 3, 4, 5 times a week, and dropped about 50 pounds, and that kind of.
Awesome.
But well, unfortunately, some of it's come back, so I got to get back on it. The funny thing with me is, they always say I'm an extremist because I'm all or nothing.
Yeah.
I can't do the I'll have one today and then I won't have another one for, I'm like, I've got to just go cold turkey on everything that's bad for me. It just be done.
Yeah.
Be done with it. I get it out of the house. I can't look at it. It's just because like you said, it's just so, I mean, I'm 43 years old. I tell people I've been eating this junk for so long. Yeah. It's addictive. You're right. It's just totally addictive. So
it tastes phenomenal, it's and you taste, but your brain is craving it. It's your biochemistry. It's changing in your body. It's not like you're aware of it, but it's your body's craving it. It's not like you telling yourself, oh yeah, I want to have that. Like, your body's asking you, I got to have this,
Yeah.
That's why, you got to empty the house, especially the first few months.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like Carb Night, if you research Carb Night, it's pretty beneficial. You can it's the Ketogenic Diet, which is it's basically fairly new. They use it even in the medical field, and it's been proven it's really, really beneficial.
Awesome. Well, before we get you out of here, because we've had you almost an hour. I know you're a busy man. Yeah. The champ's got work to do, I'm sure.
We do appreciate the opportunity,
hit the gym and stuff.
Absolutely. But before we let you go, we always like to have everybody that comes on. It's an opportunity to let them know, promote anything that you got to promote. Your Twitter, your Facebook, any shows you've got coming up, all that good stuff. It's we give you the floor for a few minutes to kind of let everybody know kind of everything there is to know about Mario Vanjur.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Sugar Free Mario Vanjur, then on Twitter at Mario Vanjur, and Facebook too, Mario Vanjur, and then I have my T-shirts on Amazon, the 2 designs, and it's by the Sugar Free. It's by Say No to Sugar. It's by the Say No to Sugar brand. You can buy the T-shirts on Amazon in all sizes available, from XXL to kids size, and that's pretty much it. And I'm trying to build a social media, especially Instagram and stuff. Just give me a follower. So. Oh,
well, we'll put it all up there for you, and we'll put a link up to the Amazon to the shirts as well, so they can kind of find your shirts as well. Kind of help you do that.
Yeah. Now there are a couple of people kind of trying to copy the Say No to Sugar design. Not the design, but the saying. So I got to talk to I got to see about the copyright thing. So, but the people see my design. It's the Say No to Sugar, the typical design, and the keep calm and stay off sugar. That's the other design.
Yeah, definitely. He's actually funny. Myron's to my left, pulling it up on Amazon, so we can get the link and we can get it up on our. We'll put it on our Twitter and our Facebook as well.
Awesome.
We know we've got the big Rocky Mountain Pro episode 10 next week on Wednesday at 9 p.m. I always want to say 8. It's a 9 p.m. Eastern time. You guys are out central. That's kind of that's why
7 p.m. Mountain Time.
Yes. So definitely check that out. They'll obviously see you pretty much. I mean, I'm assuming as was we have not. I mean, we're watching it live. We are trying to make it where we watch it week to week. So we're assuming the champ will be there pretty much, week in, week out, on the show to look out for you. It was a blast. I have a list of other questions to ask you, but I always like, keep you only about an hour at a time. So we'd definitely love to have you back on again.
Yeah, it's great having a champ on, man. This has been awesome.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks.
And I really have actually enjoyed the dietary advice too, because it's something I'm having to work on. So some of the little things I've picked up today, I think might be priceless to me later on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh yeah,
cool.
It's such a big subject, I know we could just do a podcast on that, an interview. So.
And we may. And like I said, I wasn't kidding. Maybe one day I'll get my daughter down. We'll do a podcast with her on and let you guys banter notes back and forth and talk about the things that, but we'd definitely love to have you back on again. Look forward to
definitely.
it. Other than that, man, we look forward to hopefully seeing you this Wednesday night on Rocky Mountain Pro on the Fight app. That's our big thing with Rocky Mountain Pro.
A lot of great things happening out there in Colorado right now.
I'll be there. Always trying to defend my title.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you have a long reign and you can, good luck with all the stuff that you're working with, especially with the kids like we were talking about. And hopefully that's we think it's a great cause and we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support and thanks for having me on.
It's been wonderful. Been wonderful working with you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
All right.
We once again want to thank Mario Vanjur for coming on today. He is the heavyweight champion of Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling. We enjoyed having him on. A little bit of a twist. It wasn't just some wrestling, also some good, healthy dieting and, fitness stuff that, good stuff to, dig into, especially if you're trying to live a very healthy lifestyle, something to get. And, we're going to have him on again and maybe have him break down that whole philosophy even a little bit more and some things as well. And then, of course, we're going to dig in a little more into his wrestling career as well. We also want to, hey, guys, we've got Tyler Stinson in the queue. He's an MMA-style fighter out of Rocky Mountain Pro coming on. Curtis Cole, who was up until recently the charged heavyweight champion. And then, of course, go back in the archives. We've got Matthew Yaden, owner of Rocky Mountain Pro, on. The interviews are starting to come in pretty fast and furious, guys. So we always tell you, man, we always say subscribe. You want to get down the subscription. We're in iTunes and Google Play. We're in Stitcher and a whole bunch of other places as well. We just want to, the diehards, pretty much between iTunes and Google Play, you can be on any device and get it because it's an Android for Google Play. Apple products is iTunes. They're just the easiest ways to look at. We do have our videos on YouTube. It's not really our preferred method, but they're there. They are there for you to watch as well. And it's audio with with a backdrop on it. It's not a full-fledged video. But man, hey, if you got anybody that who you want to come on or anything like that, best ways to reach us are at tappedOutWrestlingPodcast@gmail.com. That is tappedOutWrestlingPodcast@gmail.com. At Tapped Out Pod, that is at Tapped Out Pod on Twitter, and of course just on Facebook is Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. Then of course our website is tappedOutWrestlingPodcast.com, and on there the media players there. Of course, then you've got the to the left, iTunes, Google Play links. We've also got the Fight app links. We're a huge proponent of the Fight app. Love the content that's on there. Not only do they carry the pay-per-views for Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling, but they also carry, Rocky Mountain Pro, Rockstar Pro, Throwback Championship Wrestling, ICW, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Evolution Pro Wrestling, Chaotic, wrestling. I mean, there's lots and lots of product on there, and a lot of it's free. So it's a free app. And it's a lot of free content on there. And then, of course, every now and then when they do have the pay-per-views, man, support them. That's what we always tell you. Support them. Pay-per-views aren't super expensive on there. It's, absolutely. So we always say, hey, all right, that link for the Fight app is on our Twitter, it's on our Facebook, and it's on our website. Download the app through our link. Hell, it just kind of gives them a little referral to say, hey, we're sending you over there, so they know we are true believers in the product, and we're promoting the product as much as possible. Also, the Amazon affiliate link is there. And you can all we ever ask, man, is click on that Amazon affiliate link. it will actually go to Amazon. It'll just be our referral link. Replace your current Amazon.com link with our link. And it doesn't cost you any extra. You don't have to buy anything. It's just really simple, guys. It's a good way to support the show because you probably noticed the show's growing. So those overheads are growing with it. So it's just a good way to help us out here to keep having some of these, names that you want, these wrestlers coming on to talk to us. That's kind of what they're all it's how we do it, man. The host server fees never stop growing, and the more shows we add, we also like to plug it out, man. With the format we've got going right now, we do the live shows following on Raw and SmackDown, and the podcast versions of those shows drop the next day, so that the podcast versions are Tuesday, Wednesday. Also on Thursdays right now, we have the Gorilla Press. Fridays, we usually have interviews, and then the other interviews are dropping either Saturdays or Mondays, just kind of depending on the day of the week, to be honest with you, how, when the last guest came on and we got it edited. So definitely, man, we always say subscribe. It's the easiest way so you never miss an episode. Whenever they drop, bam, they're there and you got them. And that's the easiest way. Once again, we don't want to thank Mario Vanjur for coming on today. Look forward to having him back on soon. And with that, guys, I guess it's time for us to tap out.